predictions and analysis of Saturday's game against UMass. All of this and more on today's Locked On Boston College.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Locked On Boston College. AJ Black. Thank you all for listening. I hope you are enjoying your Friday. This has been a busy week here at Locked On Boston College. Today, we are joined by Eric Hoffses, who joins us every Friday. Eric, how's it going?
I'm doing awesome, AJ. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been busy this week between some of the news with BC. We had Quan Williams on yesterday, who is a 4-star defensive lineman. If you haven't checked that out, make sure you head on back. But we're talking about UMass today. It's a 39-point favorite for BC. Eric, what are some of your thoughts about this game right off the bat?
Well, I mean, this is just classic UMass. Not even getting into the players. This is probably one of their biggest home games of their FBS era, and the recent news that came down yesterday that they're not allowing tailgating, I believe, without a game ticket. I think I got to check on that, but anyways, like they just put serious restrictions on their tailgating, so there's a lot of their fans complaining about that, and all I could think of is that's just peak UMass. It's been a complete cluster, their football program, since they moved to the FBS level, and it kind of made me laugh that they did that.
So yesterday, earlier this week, I had on Michael Traney of Fight Massachusetts to talk about UMass football, and he was saying to me that I was being very fair. I thought I wasn't being. I can be kind of a troll towards UMass fans, and I hear about it, and I actually haven't heard about it this year, which is incredible. But I was saying to Michael, UMass's schedule, if there's any year that they could pick off a few wins, it's this year. You look at who they're playing. They get games against Spaziani and New Mexico State. They're playing Eastern Michigan. They've got some UConn. They've got some real dregs on there. How many is this a team that can win 4 games this year?
I mean, maybe they could trip into that. They have a couple of decent guys. Johnson, their tight end, he's a pretty good player actually. And on defense, they have a defensive end, Avion P. He's a good player. Powell, the cornerback, he's pretty good. They got a couple of guys that would play on some bottom rung ACC schools. So I think you're summing up what that program's come to, though. It's like they're hoping to squeeze out 3 wins in a season, which brings up the point. I don't know what they're trying to accomplish with the program at this point. They're just not getting any traction, and they're probably, much like our friends down in Stores, they're probably going backwards quickly.
Yeah, and I asked Michael the same thing, and you're more of a neutral perspective, so I'd love to know your thoughts. I asked him, I said, UMass, is it are they doing the right thing staying FBS? And he's like, yeah, if you're you got to play for the best. And I said, well, FCS, when you're winning national championships, isn't a bad thing. What are your thoughts? Do you think they'd be better off in FCS or FBS?
It's a great question, and I don't know, maybe FCS, because I looked back last weekend, and I don't know about you, but it looked pretty fun for Holy Cross to go down to Stores and beat UConn. I mean, that's probably more fun than that Holy Cross's players and their fans will have. You rate on the fun factor. That's probably more fun than any UMass fan is going to have this year. So in Holy Cross, I saw it got ranked in the FCS level because of their wins. So I gotta think it's more fun to be a Holy Cross fan right now than a UMass fan, which I think answers your question.
Yeah, I mean, FCS had a heck of, as you said, just not even just Holy Cross, but let's take our opportunity. This will be the second time I rip on Adazio this week, but he deserves it. So they got absolutely pancaked by South Dakota State. What were your thoughts about that game?
I was surprised about that, and I'd be very worried if I'm a Colorado State fan, because while that team, South Dakota State, is talented, they compete for FCS championships routinely. That the smaller schools like that, Daz is supposed to be able to manhandle with his offensive line, and I thought it just summed up his tenure as a coach when he came out of the gates. Run, pass, punt. I mean, you couldn't draw it up any better. And someone on Twitter had a great line to me about Daz. They said he's incapable of changing until he sees something broken. And it's so true. I saw someone sent me a clip of Daz's post game last week, and he acknowledged that South Dakota State came out loading the box on him with 8 or 9 guys at a time. And it's like, yeah, no shit. Of course they were going to do that to you, Daz. Like, you didn't anticipate them doing that, like, based on your prior history. So that gave me a laugh. Very, very glad we can laugh from afar at him now.
So we kind of sidetracked here. Back to UMass and BC. I mean, is there any chance UMass wins this game? I can't see anything. I think Michael McCunney on Twitter tweeted at me like, we had our 3 keys to the game, and one of them was don't turn over the ball 20 times, make sure you get on the bus, and make sure you have the right uniforms on. I mean, I'm supposed to stay neutral on this, but when you're almost a 40-point favorite, that would be a historic upset if BC was somehow to lose this.
Yeah, And you're right. That would be historic. I mean, they're 40-point underdogs for a reason. I mean, you go back to 2016. That was a game that actually was kind of close, 26-7. But obviously the 2016 version of Boston College as well has gotten a lot better. That was a 7-6 team at BC, and that was probably a more talented UMass team back then, Coach. But so honestly, that was the last time I can remember that these two teams played a close game. And I think UMass has gotten significantly worse since then, and I think BC has gotten a lot better. So long-winded way of answering your question, no, I don't see any way that UMass wins this game.
And I go with my barometer. If you've been listening to this podcast over the last couple of weeks, when I preview a game, really what I look at right now is there anyone on the opposing team that can stop Zay Flowers? Because if you don't have an answer to that, you're in trouble. And if their answer is to double and triple team them, then the rest of the team is going to kill them. But so you need to figure out something simple to stop Zay Flowers, and they don't have an answer to that, correct?
I mean, their quarterback Powell is supposed to be a pretty good player. I think the problem occurs even if he's up to that challenge, which I don't think he is, but let's just for hypothetical purposes say that he is up to covering Zay. I mean, you look at a guy like Barry. Like how are they gonna cover him? How is their second, third cornerback going to match up against Lewis? I think BC is just too loaded at receiver where even if they do double Zay, they're going to find a mismatch and somebody else is going to pop off against UMass. They can't stop this offense.
I have to say, I was at the game on Saturday, and I was at the press conference, and they have listed Phil Dracovic, I think at 6'5", and he walked by me. Trey Barry is one of the tallest guys I have ever seen play football. He is enormous. He absolutely towered over Phil Dracovic when I saw him, and I just like to see him when he's out there. And they only targeted him, I think, twice during the game, so we'll hopefully see him more. Now, it's not too late to listen to the Ultimate Season Preview 2021 for previews of every team in every division from our local experts and Odyssey's NFL experts. Search Ultimate Season Preview 2021 today on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. And let's talk a little bit about Built Bar while we're at it. Built Bar has 9 delicious flavors. You got to check them out. They also have a double chocolate that I've got an order in for. I cannot wait to try them. I have a Built Bar all the time. They are 100% covered in chocolate. They're delicious. Listen to the flavor profile of a Built Bar. 7 to 18 grams of protein, calories ranging from anywhere from 130 to 180, only 4 to 5 grams of sugar, 4 to 5 net carb, And the best part, they taste good. They don't taste like those other protein bars. They're chalky, gritty. You gotta check them out. And if you don't know which flavor you want to try the mix box. You get 2 of each, and you can find out what your favorite one is. Head on over to BuiltBar.com and use promo code LOCK15, and you'll get 15% off your order. Again, use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at BuiltBar.com. All right, this is AJ Black with Eric Hoffses, and we are talking about Boston College and UMass. And, this is a game we're not going to talk a whole episode about it because, as we just said, it feels like an FCS game part 2. I mean, how much better is UMass than Colgate? They're probably a little better, but they got beat pretty bad by Pitt last week. Did you watch any of that game, Eric?
No, I watched. I saw some of the highlights, but yeah, I think it's just setting the scene for what BC is going to be able to do as well.
Now, I haven't had a chance to talk to you, so we're talking about BC. What do you want to see out of this team this week? What do you think they need to do to win this game, or what kind of goals do you think Hafley needs to set for this program to win against UMass?
I'd like to see an improvement from the running game because it really never got going last week. And I'm kind of going to give them the benefit of the doubt, give the line another week. And then they have Temple on deck, who Rutgers just ran for 220 yards on. So if I don't see the running game pop up, they don't need to run for 220, but 125, 150 yards. Like if I don't see something like that in this game and the next, I am going to start getting worried because teams are going to start defending BC to basically dare them to run.
Yeah, and what was interesting about Saturday's game with the run was it seemed like the holes were there. It just seemed like the running backs didn't have the vision to hit it, and I think that was an issue. And you didn't see any, you saw Hafley trot out all of his options, and all 3 guys didn't do it. And then Patrick Garwo came in garbage time and did it against I almost called Stony Brook, Colgate's second team, and he did pretty well, but that was it. So, the spread is 39.5. If you were a better, Eric, you betting on BC or UMass for this game?
Yeah, I'd take BC in this one. I mean, judging by the pounding that Pitt gave last week, I don't see why BC can't duplicate that, and that's why I'd take them.
And I've been talking about this too. When I was doing the in-game analysis on BC Bulletin and I was in the press box, lots of grinding of teeth about the play calling. And I was like, this is guys, you're having, PTSD of Adazio here. Relax. They're keeping it vanilla on purpose because Hafley he's smart. He does not want to put stuff down. He said it himself this week. He doesn't want to put stuff down on film for future teams to see. So this is just a general warning to all the listeners out there. If you see him going generic again, he's doing it on purpose. Correct, Eric?
Yes. And as a guy that spent, about 10 years in the press box on Saturdays, it's not my words, not yours. It's not exactly the brain surgeons of sports minds up there giving comments about the game. So take it with a grain of salt.
So, yeah, I'm going to take BC with the spread too. And that's where we're going to kind of jump into our next conversation. We're going to go into let's quickly review last week's games. And then the last segment, we're going to go over the betting picks of the week from Eric. And so last week, ACC, you saw the top end of the conference really fall apart. It felt like you saw UNC get absolutely manhandled up front by Virginia Tech. You saw Clemson get beat up by a very good Georgia defense. And you saw Miami just get trounced by Alabama, which I kind of expected that. Eric, what were some of your takeaways from ACC football this weekend?
Some of the stuff you hit on was not surprising to me. I mentioned that North Carolina was coming in with a ton of hype, and a lot of times those teams, especially if it's new to them, which it is to Carolina, can't live up to it. And I thought they didn't. I thought they were totally outplayed by Virginia Tech almost the whole game. Miami, we hit on. I said they're more of a fringe top 25 team than a fringe top 10 team like they were ranked, and they showed us that. I think two things that surprised me. Clemson just, Georgia has a great D, but I was surprised at how little Clemson could get going and how dominated they were up front. That definitely surprised me. And probably the biggest surprise, though, was that Notre Dame-Florida State game. Notre Dame pretty much on cruise control, up 17 in the second half, and Florida State turns to Mackenzie Milton, and what a comeback. He almost led them to the win. After watching those two quarterbacks, Travis and Milton for Florida State, I have no idea how the Florida State coaches evaluated those two quarterbacks and decided that Mackenzie Milton would come in the year as the backup, because he looked so sharp in that game. And I might have to readjust my feelings on Florida State after that game. They have some good players on defense, and that offense looked very different with Milton behind it. So we will see. We'll see if they can continue that. But yeah, I kind of had Florida State pegged as a, next to Syracuse down the standings maybe, and I have to reevaluate that. That could be a tough game for BC now.
Yeah, he looked excellent. And I had talked to Locked On Seminoles, and they had said before the game that he had heard that Milton wasn't going to start because they're still trying to work him in. Apparently, watching him play out there, he looked totally fine to play, but they wanted to give Travis the first snaps. Now, two teams I thought, other than UNC, that really kind of fell down and really were disappointing were Louisville and Georgia Tech. Louisville just looked like you were expecting this team to be able to fix some of the turnover issues last year, or figure some of that out. They looked completely unprepared against Ole Miss. What were your thoughts about Louisville?
Yeah, they were surprising on the pod. I hadn't really thought that game over, and I actually punted when you asked me to take a team in that. I said, I guess gun to my head, Louisville, but I won't touch this game. And it was funny. My old BC pal and on Twitter, Adam Rose, he can vouch for me that I ended up taking Ole Miss because I was like, I don't think Louisville is any good. I really don't, and they proved they weren't. So that was mildly surprising. And then Georgia Tech, we talked about it last week that they could be kind of a sneaky team on BC's schedule. I'm not going to write them off after 1 week, but they certainly were underwhelming last weekend for sure.
And they lost their starting quarterback, and they don't know. I haven't heard an injury report on him. Jeff Sims out, got knocked out in the second week with a second quarter with an arm injury. Now, in a moment, Eric and I are going to go over the betting lines for the next for week 2 in ACC football. Before we do that, let me tell you about Stat Hero. Introducing Stat Hero. It's the first ever daily fantasy sports book that puts the player in control and winning within reach. Did you know 85% of people who play daily fantasy sports lose? And I am absolutely in that 85% because I always lose when I play those games. Here's how it works. You can go to Stat Heroes. They're going to show you their lineup, and they're going to dare you to beat them. It's you versus the house in a head-to-head fantasy matchup. You name the stakes, winner takes all. You have the advantage. Stat Hero is showing you their lineups ahead of time. No one else does this. You are in total control. Stat Hero is daily fantasy sports the way it was meant to be, one-on-one. Play stathero.com/lockedon and sign up for free. And right now, you can get 3 times back on your first play. That's a 300% match. That's unheard of. Go to stathero.com/lockedon. Again, that's stathero.com/lockedon. This is Locked On Boston College. AJ Black here. We're talking with Eric Hoffses. Quickly before we get into this weekend's series, just let you know that there's all sorts of new BC Bulletin recruiting news up on the site. Some of it's free. Some of it is for premium members. If you want to become a premium member, it's just $1 for the first month. With that $1, you will get access to all the premium articles. You get access to our premium message board and our Discord channel where I'm on there talking all the time. I have no life. And then after that, it's the price of a cup of coffee. So head on over to bcbulletin.com, hit that subscribe button and check it out. I promise you, I think you will enjoy this. Eric, this weekend, we got some good ACC football games to look at. And by good, I mean not very good. They start off tomorrow, and it's ACC North Carolina A&T versus Duke. We're not going to go over that for any sort of odds, but I mean, if Duke loses that, they're in real big trouble. So let's head on over to Saturday. An 11 o'clock start between Illinois and Virginia. Virginia is a 10-point favorite. Eric, who are you taking in this game?
Well, I'd actually lean toward Illinois just because watching them week 1 against Nebraska, they really kind of controlled the pace and style of that game. So I feel like 10 is a lot for Virginia to cover. I don't really think of them as a very dynamic offense. So if they get into a slowdown game with Illinois, I'm not sure they can score on just about every possession like they'll have to. But yeah, I'm gonna roll with the Illini here.
I was impressed with Virginia, so I'm going to go with the Cavaliers in this game. I thought Brennan Armstrong, who was ACC co-quarterback of the week with Phil Dracovic, I thought he looked great. Now we have a bunch of ACC versus FCS games we won't go over. Norfolk State versus Wake Forest, Kennesaw State versus Georgia Tech, which I saw someone tweet Georgia Tech only has a 75% chance of winning that game, which is ominous for an FCS versus FBS game. But now we have, I think they call it the Majors Bowl between Pittsburgh and Tennessee, and Pittsburgh is a 3-point favorite in this game. I am high on the Panthers in this. I think Tennessee is garbage. I think this will be the ACC's first win over the SEC this year. What do you think?
Yeah, as much as I hate Pat Narduzzi and have always called him a Dazio light, Tennessee is a dumpster fire. They're the least experienced team in the SEC, which is fine if you're Alabama. It's not when you're coming off a 3-win season, so give me Pitt.
All right, next game. It's the Battle of New York, Rutgers and Syracuse. You got Rutgers, who looked really good against Temple, and Syracuse, who beat Ohio last week. Rutgers is a 2-point favorite in this game. Who are you going with this in this one, Eric?
I think I'm going to go with Schiano and Rutgers. Just, he really went above and beyond expectations last year with that team. And, they bring back 11 starters on offense, 10 on D. And I just think they're the better team. And then I know it's at Syracuse, but Cuse has 0 home advantage in that dome. That's like, if Conti Forum's the, Conti Morgue, then Syracuse is the equivalent in football. It's 0 home field. Give me Rutgers.
I go with Rutgers on this one too. I don't know. I get a feeling they're going to have a little spark going for a little while here. I don't know how long the Schiano spark will go on, but they seem to have a little edge on the recruiting trail. I think they're in good shape right now. I think they'll win. All right, we're going to skip Middle Tennessee and Virginia Tech. We'll get to BC and UMass in a moment. Next on our list is another ACC and SEC matchup. We've got a lot of them this year. It's at North Carolina State versus Mississippi State. North Carolina State is a 1.5-point favorite. This seems like easy money to me. I'm taking the Wolfpack.
You like the Wolfpack in this one?
I'm not a big fan of Mike Leach. I don't think he's a very good coach.
No. Well, I don't think that. I don't know if NC State's great this year. That's a coin flip game. I won't be touching this one, but I do enjoy Mike Leach. So give me Mississippi State.
Okay. I mean, Ricky Persons, I think he's probably one of the better running backs in the conference right now. But
absolutely.
All right, and then our final game before we get to BC is Appalachian State versus Miami. I'm only putting this on there because it could be an interesting game. Appalachian State they have upset in their blood. They're a 9-point underdog to Miami. Can they do it?
Absolutely. I think this is my favorite pick of the week. Of the games we talked about, I'm probably confident in Appalachian State, Pitt, and Rutgers in that order. The way I see this game, Appalachian State was a really good team last year. They have a bunch of guys back. I think they're a fringe top 25 team. Last week I called Miami a fringe top 25 team. So I think these two teams are pretty even. I love that App State defense. They have a lot of starters back. I don't get the 9-point spread for a matchup between two teams that I think are kind of in that fringe top 25 territory. And like Cuse, Miami has a horrible home field advantage unless they're playing like a huge game. So give me Appalachian State all day in this one.
I think it's going to be. I'm picking App State too as in a closer. I think Miami will win, but I think it'll be close. If they're gonna, I think they're playing with Chase Bryce as their quarterback right now. Correct?
Yes.
Who is one of the most challenging quarterbacks to watch live. Kid still seems like a bit of a turnover machine, but I'm not buying on Miami right now. So I will pick App State. And we already talked about BC and UMass. We're both picking BC with the spread, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, Eric. That's our show for today. Eric, where can people find you on social media?
For all my college football takes, it's just my name, E-J, and then my last name, Hoffses, Hoffses. And for my barbecue business, I'm at Hoffa Barbecue on all sorts of social media platforms.
All right. This is AJ Black. You can find me on Twitter at AJBlack_BC. You can find the site at BC Bulletin. And my podcast is Locked On Boston College. We do this 5 days a week. Thank you all for listening. You can check us out wherever you get your podcast. And make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube. You'll get all our episodes there as well. We will be back on Monday with a full analysis of Saturday's game against UMass, along with reactions, analysis, and more with Mitch Wolf and myself. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you all again soon.